Good morning, folks. Here we are, Unit 7, Lesson 2. We are graphing quadratics with a leading coefficient of a is not equal to 1. So that's the coefficient. A is the coefficient that is in front of the x squared, right? So if we were to take a look at the do now, this is what you did yesterday. Here's your a. That's the coefficient in front of the x squared, and that is a little 1 right here. So this is just a little review from yesterday where you have a 1 in front of the x squared, and then we'll get into the zeros and all that. So here, write the table of values for the quadratic function and then plot the points on the axes provided. Okay, so I'm going to go into my y equals, and I'm going to type in exactly what I see there. X squared minus 2x minus, nope, that's a plus, minus 8. Don't use this button down here. That's the negative, okay? So you got to do the minus button, which is right here. All right, so you can hit the graph button and see what it's supposed to look like. And then I'm going to go second and then the graph button. I like to make sure that the Y column is symmetrical. It's a mirror image, so the top and the bottom have to match. Oh, no good so far. Good. Top, bottom is 0, 0, -5, -5, -8, -8, and -9's in the middle. So I'm just going to take a second and copy all that right into my graph. Actually, let me just make sure I typed it in correctly. Okay, so it's going to be -1, 0. I'm going to end up putting the 1 right here. 2, 3, 4. And then here I'm going to have 0, -5, -8, -9, -8, -5, and 0. Okay, so I'm just going to plot those points. And we're going to have -2, 0, -1, -5, 0, -8, 1, -9, 2, -8, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 4, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. Okay. And I'm going to draw my parabola. It will look like my graph. If I hit my graph button, they should look pretty similar to one another, right? Okay. I'm going to take a second and just label y equals x squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay. State the zeros. The zeros are where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, so I'm going to see where it crosses the x-axis. So it crosses the x-axis at x equals -2 and at x equals 4, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is in the negative direction. That's the positive direction. State the minimum or the maximum. Okay, so it dips down below. So we have a minimum, and that minimum, if I bring that straight over to the y-axis, is going to be at y equals -9. Okay, compared to the graphs we had yesterday, how is the U shape different? So in this particular case, it should pretty much be exactly the same because we kept the A is equal to 1. Okay, so right now it is not different. Okay. All right, so if I were to turn over to my next page, it says graph the equation. So we're going to go into the y equals. I'm going to have -2x squared plus 4x. Okay, I'm going to go second table. I want to make sure this is symmetrical right here, and it is. Negative 16, negative 16. Okay, so I'm going to copy down this table. Exactly, this is your work. This is what you want to show. So I'm negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then you're going to plot those points right there. And now the issue turns out the negative 16s. The negative 16 is not going to fit on the graph. So we're just going to kind of ignore those points, but it's nice to have that on there. All right, so let's start plotting those points. So when I do that, I'm going to start with my negative 1, negative 6. All right. So I'm going to have negative 1, negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That one's done. 0, 0. That one's nice and easy at the origin. 1, 2, 2, 0. And then 3, negative 6. Okay, now if I compare this one in terms of the width to this one right here, it looks like this one's wider where my a was equal to 1. In this scenario, this looks like a narrower parabola, right? This is a parabola right here. That's the name of the, right? Usually we have a line. This is a quadratic equation, but the actual on the graph, this is a parabola. So this parabola is nice and narrow. It's almost as if it got stretched out like a rubber band here. Okay, so let's answer our questions based on this. Does the parabola open upward or downward? Well, it's kind of like it's upside down. It's opening downward. What's the vertex? The vertex is the point where it turns around. So I need a coordinate. I need an exact location, just like you were giving me the latitude and longitude of something on a map, right? It gives me an exact point. I need an exact point. So that coordinate is 1, 2. What is the minimum or maximum? Well, first of all, this is a maximum, right? That's the highest it goes. There's no minimum because it keeps going down forever and ever and ever. So if I were to drag that over to the y-axis right here, that is at y equals 2. How many roots or solutions are there? Well, 1, 2, because it crosses the x-axis at 2 separate places. And what are the roots or solutions? Well, x equals 0 and x equals 2, right? And you can also kind of get that from the table as well, right? Wherever the y value is 0, those are the zeros. I like it better off of the graph. To me, it's more visual. That's an easier way to take a look at it. And then what is the axis of symmetry? Let me find my straight edge right here. The axis of symmetry is where can I fold it so that it maps on top of itself. Okay, so I'm going to draw that in super fast using a dotted line. Okay, and this is where the equation of this line, it crosses the x-axis at 1. It's x equals 1. And this is what my little trick is, axis. It's the x value from the vertex. Okay, it's the x value from the vertex. Okay, so if I look at the x value on the vertex, I get x is equal to 1. Okay, x value from the vertex is x equals 1, right? This is the x value, y value. Okay. All right, let's do another question here. All right, so if I take a look at example 2, just remember when you're doing a fraction on the calculator, you hit the alpha y equals button, okay? So we're going to go here. I'm going to go clear out whatever I have in there. Alpha y equals, choice 1 is going to give me my little fraction thing there. 1 over 2. Make sure you move out of here first before you hit x squared minus 4x plus 6. You can see what it looks like if you would like to. I'm going to go to the table so I can do my work. Now I want to make sure this is symmetrical, so the top and the bottom I would like to match each other. Here we go. There we go, right there. All right. Me personally, I don't like to graph with fractions, so I'm going to actually kind of sneak one above this and get 0.6. I'm going to skip this bad boy here. I don't want to graph fractions. That's silly. So I'm going to go to 2, 0, 4, -2. Skip that guy. 6, 0. And I just have to go in the other direction to just make sure that my table is symmetrical. Okay, so just to kind of go over this again, let me just move this here. Okay, I set up my table so that this was symmetrical, but my top one, I do not like that that's a fraction. So I scooted up 1 and I got the point above it. And then I went back to that it's symmetrical. And when I got to the bottom one, when I was writing it down, I just scooted one below it so that I got that point that was underneath it. I do not want to graph fractions, okay? So that's my table. I still got it from here. I just skipped the fractions that were in between there. Okay, so I'm just going to take a second, plot those points. 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. -2. 6, 0. 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, notice I put arrows on either side. I'm just going to take a second and label. Okay, now I'm going to answer my questions. It says graph the equation. I did that. Check that off. Does it open upward or downward? Okay, it opens like a cup. So it opens upward. What's the vertex? Here's my vertex right here. It's also going to be the middle of this, so if you prefer to look at the table, it's the one that does not repeat itself. I, again, am a very visual person, so I prefer to go off of the graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, -2. Okay, I'm going to just skip all the way down to the axis of symmetry. Vertex, axis of symmetry, I'm going to use the x value off of the vertex. Okay, so it's x, right? X, x, x. X is equal to 4. Here's my x value of the vertex. Okay, so when you see that, it's the x-axis, the axis of symmetry, it's the x value from the vertex. X equals 4, okay? That's your key letter there to help you out. All right, moving on. I'm going to figure out what the minimum value is. Okay, so I'm going to scoot this straight over to the y-axis, and the minimum is at y equals -2. Okay, what are the roots of the zeros? Well, that's going to be where it crosses the x-axis, which is at 2. And 3, 4, 5, 6. How many roots are there? There are 2 roots, 2 solutions, 2 zeros. Okay, these are all synonyms of one another. Okay, so there are 2 roots. This is what they are. Okay. All right. All right, let's do one more, and then I'll talk you through your homework, okay? Okay, awesome. So we'll do this one right here. I'm going to go into my y equals, clear out whatever's in there. I have 3x squared minus 3. Go to my table. I just want to make sure it's symmetrical. There we go, nice and pretty. So I'm just going to copy that down. Okay, this guy here and this guy here will not fit on my graph because it's a little, it's obviously way far off of my graph, right? My graph's not going to go up to 24, but it's nice to have on there. Just easy copy down from here. So these are going to be the ones that I plot my points of. So I'm going to go to -2, +9, -1, 0. Okay, that's my y equals 3x² -3. And notice as this number gets bigger and bigger and bigger, the narrower and narrower and narrower it gets. Okay? So the bigger this number is, the narrower it gets. More narrow, narrower. When you have, we had a moment ago, this guy right here, the 1/2, right? It gets smaller. 1/2 is smaller than 1. This is going to get wider. So the smaller this number is, the wider the graph is going to get. All right, so there is a correlation there. All right, well, let's answer our question. Does it open upward or downward? It looks like a cup to me, so it's going to be opening upward. What's the vertex? Here's my vertex right here. So that's at 0, -3. Vertex, axis of symmetry is the x value. So the x value of my vertex is 0. Okay, these are correlate very well with one another. What's the minimum value? So it's how low does it go, basically. Okay, this is the bottom of it. And that is at y equals -3. How many roots and solutions are there? There are 2, right? I have 1, 2 solutions. And what are they? -1 and 1. Okay? So that's it, folks. That's what we're going to be doing. You have a couple more example questions. You have one more example question. And then you can answer those questions. Here you have your do now. You're just answering questions based on here. Is it opening upward or downward? Okay, so pick one of those. Your vertex. Okay, so you're going to state this is where it turns around. And state the roots. So you're going to tell me what are, you don't have to tell me how many there are. They're just asking for you to tell me what the roots are. What are the solutions, zeros? These are all synonyms of one another, which is why they're all slashed out like that. And then you're going to tell me the minimum or the maximum, okay? There's only one of them. There's either a minimum or there's a maximum. You're never going to have both, okay? If you have any questions, reach out to your teacher and make sure you submit your work properly. Take care, guys.